Our scripture reading comes from Paul's epistle to the Romans, chapter 12, verses 9 through 13. Hear now these words from Paul. Let love be genuine. Hate what is evil. Hold fast to what is good. Love one another with mutual affection. Outdo one another in showing honor. Do not lag in zeal. Be ardent in spirit. Serve the Lord. Rejoice in hope. Be patient in suffering. Persevere in prayer. Contribute to the needs of the saints. Extend hospitality to strangers. May God bless this reading of the Holy Spirit.
Good morning. My name is Steve Salmon. I'm from Weatherford, Texas. And my goddaughter and I spent a week in Ecuador with members of your church and members of your community. We can't thank you enough for allowing us to be a part of your group. That was a wonderful experience. Any time in life that you spend as much time with the same people as we did on this trip, you become a member of another family. And family is very important to me. Family is what is one of the cornerstones of society in Ecuador. They call it familia. I got to thank the principal. I have to thank the band director, the teachers, the grandmother, the art teacher, the physical therapist, the nurse, and all of the students, and the ministers. First, I have to tell you about the week I got to spend with my goddaughter. She means a lot to my wife and I. We laughed and we enjoyed each other. We had a wonderful time. The first 2 days of our trip, I spent keeping an eye on her, making sure she had everything she needed. But by the third day, it was her coming to check on me. And I loved the smiles. I loved the blossoming of her confidence. I loved the night that TJ made her cry. Tears of joy, tears of joy. The joy on her face was amazing, and I just enjoyed so much seeing her grow and being able to experience this with her. The second thing about this trip that was great for me is because I got to spend the week with my buddy Danny. Couch and I have been friends for half my life, and we have a long history. We've gone in different directions, but we're still very close. And this was the first time that he and I have spent this much time together in a long time. And he knows how emotional I am all the time. And there were tears of joy on my face most of this trip. And a couple of times he came and shared those tears with me. And that meant a lot. I guess the third thing that really mattered to me on this trip was I'm a member of the Get Her Done family. And I want to be God's hands anywhere I am. And we got to do a wonderful project, and I got to be a part of a bunch of folks working together. And I spent the week working with Steve and Joby and Luis, the bus driver, and I can't think of all the rest of the guys' names. There wasn't a word that we could share that we understood from each other, but yet we all worked, and we worked hard, and we had fun doing that. It was a wonderful time for me because that's just kind of who I am. Being in Pasur Grand was humbling to me. I see our world today, and I see the luxuries that we in our lives here take for granted. And I see people that don't have any of those luxuries, but they still put their best foot forward, and they still keep a good attitude, and they're still strong through the day to do the best that they can. And familia has a lot to do with that because they live for each other, and I find that to be fascinating. I just so enjoyed the people. Mainly because they've got their hearts in the right place where they are living for each other, and I enjoyed that a lot. It reminds me of the story in the Bible of the old woman who had nothing, and she gave everything to the church, and the wealthy man gave very little. And it reminds me who gets the most blessing from what they give or what they do with their lives. And to me, the person that gives the most, I would think, would be the person that would receive the most. And I believe that strongly. Seeing Ecuador from a bus was fascinating. I live in Texas. I live in a desert, and it's a beautiful, beautiful country. It's a beautiful, beautiful country. And to be able to sit in the bus and let Luis drive, and for all of us just to enjoy the scenery of the mountains and just the sheer beauty of a gorgeous country. I guess the main thing that was meaningful to me on this trip was a lady named Blanca and her husband Luis. These are missionaries in their own country. They do God's work in the communities that they serve. And we had this mother hen, and she toiled over every detail of our trip. And she was concerned to make sure everybody had everything and everything was wonderful. And she would try as hard as she could to make sure we experienced everything that she thought was special about her country. And that was wonderful for me. That's probably the main thing, because there's beautiful people in this world like Blanca who just wake up every morning saying, I got to do the Lord's work today. And that was inspiring to me, and that was strong. But again, I thank the members of this church family for allowing us to go with. We had the most wonderful time, and it really touched us. Thank you very much.
Hello. My name is Stephanie Ellis Dearborn. I am a member of this church. And while TJ was on sabbatical, he voluntold me to a few duties. One being, hey, will you be the contact for the mission trip? And I've been in public education for 12 years, 11 of those, really all 12, in traveling with band kids around the state. So I was like, sure, why not? It was actually really nice to just lead 17 people through the airport instead of 320. So it was super fun for me, but I do feel like I'm breaking up the bromance here between Danny and Steve, because they are just some of the coolest guys. And we met Steve and Kaylin in the airport as we're flying to Ecuador, and we met Danny when we were already in Ecuador, and I feel like we've been good friends with them for years now. So really what I want to touch on is the people who traveled with us. I do have a few pictures that I'm going to have Shayla put up. If she'll put up that first one and stay there for a second. Is it there? I can't see it. So this is a picture of Heather wearing my favorite shirt from the church. I think it got a little paint on it during the mission trip. And this is Jordy, who is the son of the family that we were helping build the house for. And this is one of my favorite memories, because it's the last day. We were done with most of our painting. We kind of left some of the guys to finish up the work. They were putting in the doors, and we walked down to a really nice stadium. It had like turf, AstroTurf for them to play on. And we sat there watching, and one of our other favorite terms besides minga was gringuitos, which is an endearing term for white people. Most of you know that term. So this was Jordy being sweet Jordy. He kind of fell in love with us. I think Vivian may have been his best friend, though. But they were practicing their English with us. And so we sat there for several hours before lunch just talking to them. And there were some kids who would come and talk to us and then go run back to their parents and double check that their English was correct, and then run back over to us. And it was just really sweet to connect with these kids. And they were kids who actually traveled from other parts of Ecuador to this really nice facility. So it was neat to meet kids from the whole area. But if you feel free to scroll through the pictures. These are just some of my favorite memories. And we had one night where we all kind of shared, and TJ was super sweet and kind of gave affirmations to every person. And it was so touching for all of us just after a week of just hard heart work to just kind of reflect with each other. And I cried. And I am not really a crier. And I'm trying really hard not to cry right now. And the girls know. And I, just being in education and just connecting with all these people and seeing the kids, it really touched my heart to see how hard everyone works in this village every day for their families, for their education. We visited the school, several groups of us on different days, and we walked into a sophomore English class. Well, it was a sophomore class, and they were working on English at the time. And pretty sure we were helping them cheat on their homework, but it's whatever. The teacher was great. She actually showed up, speaking of Minga and working together, she showed up at the house the next day when she was off, and just to come visit us and check on Jordy. And it was so neat to just see these people every day working on something to better their life. And it was really a big weight on my heart to see these girls just every day reaching these kids. And Anna and Caden Hernandez couldn't be here today, but there was this little boy who was from the neighborhood, and he cried when he knew that we were getting on the bus to leave. And I'm pretty sure Jordy threw a fit a few times when Vivian would get on the bus to leave. And it was just so neat, the deep connections that we made. And I'm so excited to go back. I think that's where we're all at. And, you know, we'd love to have more people go and experience this with us. And I hope that our new friends will go back with us, you know. And the last thing, and I wish I had included a picture, but I know it's been posted, is the women's group. There's actually several items up here, so when you take communion and afterwards, please stop by the table. There's actually probably 90% handmade items up here. There's purses and embroidery, and several of them were gifted to our church from the ladies in the valley, and they were just so gracious, and we actually got to buy items from them. And I think all of us are wearing, I don't know, we went to the market and I wore my, so it was so fun just to see their handicrafts. And Fedice, and I hope Danny gets to touch on all of this, but they teach these women not only to make handicrafts, but how to take care of themselves and how to manage their finances. Like, these are big things that this company is doing, and we're so excited to become a part of it, and we know that the work's not over. And the last thing, and I'm gonna leave this guy right here. This is Jesus. Actually, Kristen bought 100. Yeah, we ordered these little guys on Amazon, and there's probably like 99 left in Ecuador. I kept this, he's been in my pocket since, in my purse, in my pocket. And he's gonna stay there. I hope he stays there for a while. But we're spreading the love of Jesus, being the hands and feet, but also literally through these little figurines. We also have several flat Jesuses, like Flat Stanley, that traveled with us. We need to do a whole like slideshow of just those pictures. So anyway, the people are what make it, and I hope truly that we can build another group of people to go with us and take twice as many, because it's just such a blessing to us, but to them, and just to form these relationships. So thank y'all so much.
Howdy. I'm Danny Couch. Was in Weatherford for a long time, in the little town just south of there, Houston. Unfortunately, I'm there for a while, helping out the church out there, but I'm going to kind of share a little story with you. Late summer of 2008, a young lady came into the office at the church in Weatherford, and she sat down in front of the desk and said, "We're going to Ecuador." Okay, where's Ecuador? How do you spell it? There's no Q in Ecuador. I didn't know that. And so I said, well, tell me about Ecuador. She went there, went with a group, and fell in love with it, and found some places that we could go that would have a lot of needs. I said, well, okay, we'll do some work, and maybe we'll go next summer. She goes, no, we're going quickly. And so, as I always do, I always have to have the last word in, and it was, yes, ma'am. And so I went, and we figured out how to get there. And so the February of 2009, we took 9 of us to Ecuador. And we ended up in this little obscure village north there. filled with people from escaped slaves from the Congo 400 years ago, barely recognized as citizens because they were newcomers. And just fell in love with them. And we didn't really know what to do with them, but we knew we wanted to come back. And so we went back the following August with another group, and we thought, well, what they really need, right? This is what we think. If we just bring them some supplies, just get a bunch of shoes, a bunch of clothes, a bunch of toys, and we start dispersing them. So we did this for the first couple of trips, and the next thing we know, we're creating this chaos. We see a lot of this chaos take place in our country, of people wanting things all the time, and every time the gringos would show up, here come all the people to see what they would get, and then they'd get, and the next time they see them, they'd destroy it. So we learned real quickly that that's not a way to do a mission trip. And so we began to change the way that we would do things. Instead of giving them what they want, we started learning them a little bit more and finding out what they needed, what were their problems, and then trying to address that. And so we started developing a relationship with the schools, built their schools up, and so they got to the point where they could actually go through, finish up high school. So the first time in their 400-year history, we had high school graduates. And then we got them ready for college, and then we have college graduates, and a lot of the people are coming back to help with the village again. And then we created a women's group because they needed some good leadership in there. And so we have a group of leaders that were there, then began to develop some leadership skills. We got them some microloans that can create new ways of which to earn money except through agriculture. And that's what you see on this table. And so we brought in some people to teach them some things. We got another group that goes and meets with them every month to deal with some, to teach them some more things. But they began to grow this village and began to take care of one another, which is something they really lacked. And it was pretty neat to watch this process take place over the course of 15 years to see where they are. And when I come back to church and talk about it, of course, people say, well, why are you going there? We have problems in our own country. And it's pretty easy for me to answer that question. Is I just say, you know, when somebody says that God put something on my heart to do something, I learned a long time ago, you don't say no. If the answer is yes, you go and you do, and you figure it out, and we figure it out. And so the best way I know to really understand how we help people outside of ourselves is to think of, what if your family was in that situation? What would you do? We would do everything we could to help them become better people, to teach them how to be empowered. And so that was the role that we began to do, is how can we empower these people to understand who they were and what they're capable of doing more than what they were. And so we started with the schools, and we started working with the women's group, who began to identify greater needs, and then we began to meet that. We started building houses. You saw one of the houses that we built, second story on that. And so they identify the poorest of the poor, the worst need people, and then we respond. They go and build it, we finish it out and take the credit. That's how it works. And so we party with them, and we do some things with them, and we just have a great time. It's really neat to see the development of people's lives, how they've changed since we've been working with them. A lot more confidence, to see them grow in their understanding of what love is, and how and why we love, and they couldn't understand that when we first got there. But to really be a big part of it, and to see it even growing, because now there's other villages down below that we're going to take that group and that women's group, and then we're going to implant them in the other community. And so they're going to do with them what we have been doing with them. And so it's just kind of passing it down throughout the valley of the Chota Valley in northern Ecuador. And so it's really not just trying to help a group of people, but it's really trying to empower them so that they can become helpers of other people. There's an old statement Henry Nouwen calls that we're wounded healers, that we all have wounds that we carry with us, and we work all that we can to become stronger and better and to heal from those wounds, so that then we can in turn help people heal from their wounds. And so become instrumental in helping other people. And that's what this group was about. And so we're able to help them in ways that they never imagined them to be helped. And every time I go there, I get emotional with it, because I see their growth and their patterns of growth. And I see people come in and become family with each other. And that's a really powerful, powerful thing. And this was a phenomenal group that we had this year. Just to see them just really come together and mold together. And they got it. They got it. And another thing too is this, and I guess I'll finish up with this one, even though I'm still a couple hours short. You know, to go on a mission trip if you really, people say, well, if you imagine that your family is the one who is there in these situations, what would you do? And that's a struggle for people. And the best way I know to do mission trips, if you don't know the people, then you treat them with love and respect, and you make them your family. And then it's a whole lot easier to help them where their greatest needs are, and also to return and do it again and again and again. And so y'all have been such an instrumental part of that, and I really do appreciate it. There'll be more trips. We go once a year at least. Steve and I are going to run down there this fall, go to the Olympic Center and drop off some clothes for the Paralympics over there, and just kind of hang out with them a little bit more. But love for y'all to be more actively involved with this if you would like to. And it's not just going to be Ecuador. We have a bigger vision of what we want to do and learning how to do missions in the world where it's really based on family, based on relationships. And when I tell them, groups, so yeah, you got 2 jobs, you got 2 rules when we go on these trips. First rule is we got a project we're going to do. The second rule is what? We're going to play. So if anybody comes to you and says, come see my house, come see my field, come play soccer with me, I want to show you the cemetery, I want to do this with you, you tell somebody, grab somebody, and you go and you do. That's the rule. That's the most important rule, because you are Christmas to these people. They don't get to see the things that they will never get to see people like you again for another year. So you do everything you can to develop those relationships with them. So number 1, we got something we're going to be doing. 2, go play. And play is the most important one. And we've always gotten every project completed. That's never been a problem. And so that's what we do. So we really try to build those relationships with that, and appreciate your work on that, the hard work of all the people that were here that really nailed it. It was fantastic, great trip. We'll go again in June. Hope you can come here for that. Thank y'all.